Hello, everybody. Thomas Fleming here. We are in the middle of a fairly major storm, but it's calm. It seemed to split and go around us. God took the storm north and south, and I'm in a dry spot. So I figured I'd come out here and make another video. We're supposed to have a bigger storm tonight and tomorrow, and I don't want to miss being able to make a video. All right. So what is going on with the world? I talked about a little bit in the last video. Don't be distracted. Well, why is this going on? It's a military tactic that's been around for centuries, millennium. It's called PSYOP, psychological warfare. We're being conditioned for something bigger. Whatever's happening, if they keep conditioning this and we keep hearing about all this and we hear about all these earthquakes and train wrecks and all this stuff, we're going to just, and New York City was bombed. Oh, okay. That's interesting. It's no big deal. It's called psychological warfare. The definition is a military action designed to influence the perceptions and attitudes of individuals, groups, and foreign governments. And it's been done many times in the Old Testament. It is standard. And all the stuff that's in Revelation is talking about all the bad things. That's psychological warfare, to let your enemy know what's coming. So what's going on? It's just being used by the other side at this point in time, but you can counter it, because everything they do, just like Jesus in the desert, every time Satan said something, he countered it. You can counter everything that's coming on. So the first thing we want to look at is we want to look at Jericho, psychological warfare. Let me pull it up. I'm going to be in Joshua 6:1. Now, Jericho was straightly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. They didn't want to get involved. They just figured they'd hide behind their walls. That just shut people off. And I'm just going to go in my man cave and just watch football or do something. You guys can do whatever you want to do. In 6:2, and the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have given into thine hand Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor. God's already given them to him. Now, I don't know how many people in this particular assault with Israel, but there's quite a few. We're not talking about a little country anymore. There's a lot of people. And in 6:3, and ye shall compass the city, surround it, all ye men of war, and go around the city once. Thou shalt do this 6 days. And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram horns. And the 7th day you shall compass the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow their trumpets. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up every straight before him, every man straight before him. Okay. So Joshua and the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, take up the ark of the covenant, and let your 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. He said, unto the people, pass on, compass the city, and let them that are armed pass on before the ark of the Lord. It came to pass when Joshua had spoken unto the people that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns passed on before the Lord and blew the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them. taking God into battle. And the armed men went before the priests and blew with the trumpets. And the reward, and after the ark, the priests going on, blowing their trumpets. And Joshua had commanded the people, saying, "You shall shout and make any noise with your voice. You shall not shout or make any noise with your voice, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth until the day I bid you to shout. Then you should all shout." So the ark of the Lord compassed the city, going about at once, and they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priest took up the ark, and the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns and the ark went on continually blowing their trumpets. The armed men went before them, but the reward came after the ark, the priests going on blowing their trumpets. The second day they compassed the city once, returned to the camp. So they did this for 6 days. This is psychological warfare. You're just making noise. That's all they're doing. They're marching around, not doing anything, not harming anybody, just making noise, like our government's doing. All this stuff is just making noise. They're getting ready. At some point in time, they're going to get to the 7th day, whatever that time frame is in their plan, and they're going to hit us with something. Okay? Came to pass that the 7th day, when the priests blew the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city, and the city shall be accursed, even it and all those therein, to the Lord. Only Rahab the harlot shall live, she and all the ones in her house, because she had hid the messengers that were sent." So even in a bad city, there can be people. In Rahab the harlot, okay, you know what kind of a lady she is, but God saved her because she did a service to God. And ye in any wise keep yourself from the accursed thing, lest you make yourselves accursed. When you take up the accursed thing and make the camp of Israel a curse and trouble it. So don't touch any of these idols that are there. But all the silver, gold, vessels of brass and iron are consecrated unto the Lord, and that shall come into the treasury of the Lord. So you can take all the valuables as long as they're not the idols. They were into idol worship there. So the people shouted when the priest blew the trumpets, and it came to pass when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city, and they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both men and women and young and old, ox, sheep, and donkeys with the edge of a sword. But Joshua said unto the 2 men that had spied out the country, "Go into the harlot's house and bring out that woman and all that she has, as you swear unto her." And the young men that were the spies went in and brought Rahab and her father and her mother and brethren out. They brought out the kindred and left them without the camp of Israel. And they burnt the city with fire, and therein, and only the silver, gold, and vessels of brass and iron were put into the treasury of the house of the Lord. Joshua saved Rahab the harlot alive, her father's household, that all that she had, and all that dwelleth in Israel, even on that day, because she hid the messengers which Joshua sent out to spy out Jericho. Okay, so there's a sample. Who would have thought walking around a town with a brick wall, a defensive brick wall, very strong, who would have thought that would have been good enough to just march around and blow trumpets? Okay, I'm going to go to, oh, come on, don't go to sleep on me. Oh, it's getting an update. I turned off the sound, but I still got an update. Okay. Okay, so where am I? I'm down at 40. I got to go to 1 Samuel 17, 42. Okay, I'm going to start in 41. And the Philistine came out and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. When the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, a ruddy and a fair complexion. The Philistine said unto him, Am I a dog that thou comest after me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give the flesh into the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield, and I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defiled. This day the Lord delivered thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee. I will take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcass to the hosts of the Philistines that day, into the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the earth, just like he said he was going to do with David, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with the sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came to draw nigh to meet David, that David ran along towards the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took out a stone and put it in the sling and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his full forehead, and he fell upon the face of the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine. And there was no sword in the hand of David. Then David ran, stood upon the Philistine, took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath therein, and slew him, and cut his head off. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. Psychological warfare. You send out your big bad guy who's never been beaten, and he gets beaten by a kid with a sling and a rock. What more can these Israelites do? What more can their God do? Psychological warfare. All right, and my last reading will be 2 Corinthians 10. And do I want to go all the way back to the beginning? Yeah, I'm going to read 2 Corinthians 10. I'll start at 1. Now I, Paul, myself, beseech you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ, who in presence I am base among you, but being absent am bold towards you. I guess he was unable to travel there again. But I beseech you that you may not be bold when I am present, with that confidence wherewith I think to be bold against some. Trying to figure this out. What's he saying here? Beseech you the meekness of gentleness of Christ. He stands before them with the power of God, but he doesn't want them to stand with that power against him. Just think of us if we walked according to the flesh. But although we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. Like I keep saying, you can't fight this war physically. Satan will win and crush you and your family and anything that you have to do, and the horse you rode in on. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to be the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ, and having a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. So we don't fight a spiritual war when we're here. We can't. And if we're going to fight a spiritual or physical war, let God take the lead. You don't need to have equal. For a long time, we were at parity with Russia. We had as many nuclear weapons as they did. It's not important. God can destroy the greatest army in the world with an earthquake. We don't need to have nuclear weapons to fight back with. We just need God. And that is where we're getting into trouble with this country. We're pushing God aside. Some are kicking him aside and stomping on his image. Do you think God is taking that lightly? I don't think so. So this is starting to shape up. I'm starting to get enough of it back. I got to work Saturday on one of my Star Trek fan films, and I had the goatee in my previous scenes, and I'm trying to get it back to where it was. I think we're gonna make it. And we have to do a little bit of trimming. I can't trim too much because I don't have the full amount yet. It's close enough. I don't think anybody would notice. But we've had so much gaps in some of these films that I've been doing with them that I've literally changed my hair, and we had to write it into the script why my hair changed. Okay, we're not going to do it this time. All right. Fight spiritually. Prepare your mind spiritually to fight. There is a battle going on, and we do have to fight. You can't go sit in the corner and hide, crawl under a rock. That's what the world's going to want to do eventually. That's not for us. God is going to take care of us no matter what we do. You're going to see another thing that we have to deal with in the South here soon. I'm beginning to feel pieces of it now. With the rain, it's not as bad today, but we've already had a pollen count up over 1,000. When it gets in, I think 1,000, they call it extreme. And pretty soon we're going to be up to 5,000 and 10,000. You know, it's like Spaceballs, the movie, you know. We're going plaid. You know, I have a white car, so it will be yellow soon. The black cars are the worst, and they kind of look green. All right. Don't let this stuff worry you. They're blowing trumpets to scare you. They're causing all these train derailments to scare you. Are they doing it around the world, or what's going on around the world, accidents? I don't know. We have to wait and see. We have no proof. Of course, if it's all part of their plan, they're not going to talk about it in the media. They didn't go to Ohio where they had an obvious hazmat situation, and it's in their charter that they're supposed to go there, and they refuse to go. It's like, okay, you don't vote the way we want, we're going to destroy you piece by piece, and love every minute of it, and love it when you suffer, because I'm Satan and I hate the world. That's kind of the message we're getting. Yeah. Well, I'm a Christian, and I don't like Satan. Satan's stupid. Stupid to even go down this path. We know the outcome. Even if he can't fully understand the Bible, surely he knows the outcome. And if I want to call you Shirley, I will, Satan. How much more of this is he going to go through? Well, we have it all written down, don't we? We know. This is all pieces and parts of their slow takeover of the world. I'm not worried. I laugh in the face of whatever they're going to do, because God will protect us. He has been protecting us. He will protect us up until the point that we're not needed down here anymore. That's when we're out of here. These revivals, they're going to go on for a little while, then they're going to wind down. That's when you want to worry. Our high watch coming up next month is still going to be Easter. I can't give you a date. I'm not going to predict a date. But if I were to predict a date, Easter would be a good date. But I have no revelation of that. God hasn't given that to me. I just keep saying that it's not going to happen on a Jewish holiday. We're in the church age. But Easter is a church event. And there's a number of days that we can look at that. Palm Sunday, there's a number of days. Palm Sunday will be the time that the 69th day ended or began. Let's see, that would be, I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. Did it begin or did it end there? If it began there, we got a year to go. If it ended there, anytime. I haven't researched that. I have to check with Barry. He's really good with timelines. Not really good at predicting the rapture, but he's really good with timelines. So I got to see what that is. I'm curious now, so I'm going to look. I hope you guys are doing well. Stay next to God, because it's not a nice place out there. This will be my last YouTube video this week. I will go back to another video or so next week. I'm basically moving to Rumble. YouTube is kicking my friends off, essentially. That's too much. I can't take that. I'm not going to be a part of that. I'm not going to live in the house of Satan just so that I can reach out when I've got other means. If you can come and join me, that would be great. I would love it if you would join me, especially all those that keep, making comments and contributing to what I do. I need you to be there, but I need as many people as we can. Rumble does not have the social media platform site recognition that YouTube does. If I do post on YouTube, it will be links to Rumble, so you can look for those. I'm going to continue for as long as I can with my daily videos, but they'll be on YouTube. They'll be on Rumble, and I'll give you the link if you don't want to go over there. But you got to sign up. If you don't sign up, you can't see the videos. I know they ought to just go ahead and open it like YouTube, but they do have to have some way to manage it. It's growing. YouTube was buggy when it first started, when it first came out. A plane flying over. That's a prop plane. Fairly good size one. Okay, came out of the clouds. It's a helicopter. The clouds were making it sound like a plane prop engine. When it came out of the clouds, boom, it was a helicopter. You could identify it. While it was in the layers, it sounded funny. So you can think you know something, and it turns out not to be, just because of the environment. Okay. But he was saying just below the clouds. So the cloud level must be right at the minimum flight level up there. I've done that when I was flying. When I was a student pilot, I actually did touch and goes on an airport when we had fog, but the fog layer was just high enough that I could stay touching it as I went by. Now, I had my door closed, but I could have put my hand out and touched the clouds. But I couldn't go in them, because then I'd be instrument flight rules, and I didn't have that, not as a student yet. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, work on getting it posted. I'm going to try to do a 6 a.m. release on Rumble, the same as I've been doing here on YouTube. When you see this, get over to Rumble, and then I don't have to keep going back and forth with what my thoughts are, who I'm talking to. But the link, both of these will have the video on both of them. But from now on, in between the actual video postings on YouTube, I will do links. Unless something comes up. You got to be flexible with God. You can't sit there and say, well, I know exactly what God wants me to do, and I'm going to do this. Lord willing, that's my plan. He could change it at any moment. But for now, I'm going to do over what I can over here on Rumble. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.